Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is the next episode in my anchor series. Now, what I'm going to be talking about in this episode is the Cordelette and the webolette anchors. Now, this is, if there's not a 2-bolt anchor, this is what you're going to use probably 99% of the time. I use it all the time. It's very important to be proficient at this and to know how to use it if you're going to be out multi-pitch climbing. Alright, so first, before I show you how to tie the anchors, I want to talk about what the anchors are made from. I have 3 different examples here. So this is a 7mm sterling accessory cord, and the tied loop length, when you stretch out the loop in the end, is about 8 feet. Now, this one's a little on the short side. It does work. This is also 7mm cord from Sterling, and it has a closed loop length of 12 feet. Right, and it's a little on the long side, so a lot of people say that 10 feet is the sweet spot, but you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the bulk as well, so you just got to kind of figure out what works best for you. Certainly I found that the 12 feet's really nice for tying, because I have plenty of room to tie 3 points of gear together. I can just take out any extra slack by adjusting the knot that I use for my master point. So these are used for the Cordelette anchor. For a webolette anchor, you can use the cord, and I'll show you that. But what I use is this. So this is a 12-foot rabbit runner. This particular one is the Blue Water Titan anchor sling. If you're interested in this, I did do a gear review on it, so check that out. This is what I use the majority of the time. But there are some disadvantages to the webolette versus the Cordelette anchors. I'll talk about those, but obviously the big advantage is size and bulk of material. Alright, so let's start with the Cordelette. Okay, the Cordelette anchor is going to be used to equalize multiple points of gear. Most of the time that means 3 bomber gear placements, right? Gets you to your 6 grade that I talked about in the Anchors 101 episode. Might be 4, might be more, but most of the time you're going to place 3 good pieces of gear and equalize them. So let's go through how to do that. Now, I'm going to take, and in this case obviously I am using bolts, but for the example, use your imagination. Might be 3 cams, might be a couple of cams and a solid nut. Whatever the case would be. So take my Cordelette, and I'm just going to untie it here. Okay. Now this Cordelette, which I didn't mention, it is 7mm sterling cord, and we just join that together with a double fisherman's knot. Okay, so get you nice and tight. It'll last forever. Okay, so to tie the anchor, I just clip my piece out here, clip my other end, then we grab the middle strand, come up here, clip my middle part. Okay, I'm going to take these 2 legs, and I just want to get everything centered here. I might have to move it around a little bit, really get it equalized. Deal with wherever my knot is, right? So just shift the whole thing around. Now, what I want to do is, based on the direction of pull, I need to equalize this. So, my direction of pull is out here. I come out here before I tie my knot. You know, pull it together and tie my knot. All right, if it's out here, come out here, pull it together and tie my knot. And it would create different length legs for each of these, but it would equalize the anchor. Now, for this example, I'm just going to assume that my direction of pull is straight down. So I'm going to come out here, gather this up, and I'm just going to tie, in this case, an overhand knot. Now you can tie various master point knots. Overhand is super common. Figure of 8 is common. Figure of 9 is common. When I have my longer cordelette, I'll choose the knot based on how much I want to, you know, take out in terms of slack in the system. And I'll just take and clip my master point carabiner on there, and boom. This is my cordelette anchor. Okay. Now notice that I connected my Gravel Vlad here, so it gives me 3 nice places to anchor to. That's great. You know, just clipped additional carabiners in here, manage the anchor really well. However, I also have, a shelf in this anchor, so where I can clip another carabiner to if I'd like to. And to clip the shelf, I just want to clip through each of the 3 legs, and there is my shelf, right? So I can manage, you know, maybe I clip myself here, and maybe I, you know, clip the belay device off here, or maybe vice versa. Whatever you want to do to manage an anchor, whatever feels good for you, right for you in the scenario that you're in. So like I said, this is the anchor that I use the vast majority of the time when I'm track climbing, or rather the webolette version of it. It's very critical to know how to tie this anchor, to know what you're looking at, know how to use this anchor if you're going to be multi-pitch track climbing. All right, so next I'm going to show you the webolette anchor. All right, the webolette anchor. Now, the webolette anchor is basically the same as the cordelette anchor, but you're not tying it with a closed loop. Okay, in this case, I'm going to tie it with a rabbit runner. A rabbit runner is just a open length sling that has 2 sewn loops on either end. Okay, but it's an open sling. Okay, so we tie it pretty much the same way. I'm gonna hook my first piece of gear here, second piece of gear here. I'm gonna take the center, pull it up, hook there. Now, again, I'm gonna take my anchor sling, and you know, if I need to equalize it out here, I'm gonna, you know, equalize it in the direction of pull, but we will simply assume that it's going to be straight down. So I grab my 2 loops, get it good and equalized, and then I'm going to come up here, and in this case I have more material, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a figure of 8 knot in this, okay, just to take up a little bit more of the anchor sling. So you can see it's still quite a bit longer than my cordelette was. They do make this in different lengths. This is the 12-foot length. It's the length that I like to use. Okay, so from there, again, just clip my master point carabiner, and there we go. Now, like I said, this does not have a shelf, and the reason for that is you don't have loops here, all right, because this is not a closed loop sling. You don't have legs that you can clip to. You can't just clip to this one, because if you did, it would not be a redundant clip-in point. Therefore, it doesn't qualify to be a shelf. Okay, so this is what I use almost always. And while I don't have the luxury of having a shelf, I use my Gravel Vlad, so I still have multiple clip-in points. I like that it is lighter, less bulky on my harness when I'm climbing with it, carrying it, it's definitely the way to go for me. Now, that said, the Cordelette, right, which has the shelf, can also be used, if you need to tie a webolette anchor. All right, let me show you that. Okay, so tying a webolette using Cordelette. You would only do this if, for example, your anchor points are far enough apart that your closed loop isn't going to reach and allow you to tie master point. Or let's say, such as this example, you need to equalize 4 points, and so you don't have enough length in your cordelette when you have the closed loop. So the thing about the cordelette is flexibility, right? I can untie my cordelette, which I've done here, okay? And I can basically turn it into a webolette. And all I'm gonna do is tie a couple of figure-8 knots on the ends, okay? Do the same thing over here. Okay, so now I've got basically this giant rabbit runner that I've made with for my cordelette. Okay, so gonna clip here, gonna clip out here. Now, I said in this example I'm going to equalize 4 points. So I do basically the same thing I would if I have 3 points. I'm gonna clip through this point. I'm gonna clip through this point. I'm going to bring together all of the ends, okay? Get it all nice and tight in the direction of pull, okay? And I'm just going to take and tie an overhand master point knot, all right? Now you can see that, my knot is, fortunately, that's not well equalized, so I would tighten this back up. But we're going to continue on with the example. You see that if I was trying to do this with closed loop, there definitely wouldn't be enough cordage in the closed loop to equalize everything and tie my knot. So opening up my cordelette allows me to build a webolette from it. Now, if these 2 points are good enough, because I've equalized 4 points, technically I could use this as a shelf. I typically wouldn't, but if these 2 points were strong enough points, I could do it, although it wouldn't quite be rated, to the 6, because you're not going to get there with 2 gear placements. But they would be redundant and equalized and not extending. So you got to kind of make the decision on your own whether or not that's good enough for you to trust or not. But I take my master point, simply slip in my master point carabiner, and there we have a webolette tied with an open cordelette, right? So lots of flexibility there. The cordelette, you also, if you got to tie around a big tree, untie the thing, tie it around a giant tree. Can't always do that if you have the webolette and it's not long enough. Now it is 12 feet, it's a pretty good size, but you're going to get, if you have the 12-foot cordelette, for example, you have 24 feet when you untie that thing. So you've got a lot of cordage to work with, and it just provides the most flexibility. Downside is more bulk, right? Bigger, heavier, etc. So that's the cordelette and the webolette anchors. This is one of the bread and butter anchors that you need to know how to use if you're going to multi-pitch. And if you're going to be multi-pitch climbing where there are no anchors, you can't leave the ground without knowing this. So it's a good one. If you have any questions, let me know, comment. Hope you like it. Hope it was useful. See you guys next time.